bizarre, and where does the buck stop? Why has all of this been blamed on Scott Robertson?
There's 50-odd players, there's 20-odd coaches. We're sitting in this auditorium, and I'm sitting there in my seat going, don't do it, don't say it, JP, don't say it. And then my big mouth, I've got to say it. So I go, ugh. I tell you what, that went down like a lead balloon.
As an All Black, it's probably the most difficult challenge that you put the boots on for.
And to the Brumbies' credit, they just stuck to the game plan.
Had a lot of Stephen Larkham in them.
I'm sorry, I think the French are going to absolutely smack the English. After this championship, you'll probably see another coach gone.
Welcome back to G-Brands. I'm Andy Rowe, and as usual, joining me is Wallabies World Cup winner, and it's official, Brumbies legend, Jeremy Poole, JP, and former Crusaders heartthrob and All Black hero, Justin Marshall. Hey, and if you're a company that wants to partner with G-Brands so we can keep producing this content, email me at studio@red9studios.com. I'll put the link in the description to this episode as well, and check out red9studios.com for more details. Christchurch's own world-class podcast studios. Do you guys have a company you want to promote while we're looking for a sponsor?
I think that's enough. You've done a good job, actually. I love the intro. I've never been called a heartthrob before. Hey, and by the way, mate, congratulations, JP. Fantastic making that all-time Brumbies Legends 15. And really great that Andy was very complimentary for your achievement in doing that, but didn't mention the fact that I made the Crusaders one.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Did you?
I did see you there, mate. Yeah, mate.
See, there you go.
It was a fantastic side. What a side.
What the hell happened in Christchurch? This is perfect. This is the perfect time to come back on air, by the way, boys. Not so perfect for Marshy, but very much perfect for you, JP. You've been recognised globally, and what a worldy performance by your Brumbies.
Yeah, look, it's been a great start to the season for the Brumbies. Actually, I got to do a little bit of stuff for the Brumbies with the media guy over the last couple of weeks, and just leading up to this game, and obviously about the legends, the 30 years. I mean, what a competition for 30 years. God, they produce some players. I suppose one thing is they've kind of not let down, but they just haven't added the South African players as much in this Legends 30. I thought, say, take the hookers, for example, just one example. John Smith, Bismarck du Plessis. God, Bismarck du Plessis was one of my favourite players. And obviously the World Player of the Year, Malcolm Marx, was in it. But I just feel South Africa was a huge part of Super Rugby. And look, there's a lot of talk about potentially we don't need them, but I thought the competition was a lot stronger when South Africa was in it, and particularly now that they're the world champs as well. So it'd be good to see them represented a little bit better, that's all.
That's probably as humble as I've ever seen you in talking about the Brumbies winning back-to-back games, beating the Crusaders for the first time in 26 years in Christchurch, and you actually just glossed over it.
Did you take a diazepam before the show, JP, or what?
No, I just... No, the chat yesterday in our group, right? You guys did not even want to do the pod today. So I thought I'd stare away from the Brumbies. Look, we all know the Crusaders are slow starters. Like, let's not make this out to be like a championship win. This is classic Crusaders. Slow starters, always come home really, really strong and always there around the final. So
JP,
we'll take the win. Actually,
JP, I have to stop you. I have to stop you because we've given you 2 chances to speak so far.
Yeah.
And both times you've come out, and bearing in mind we haven't been on air for a while, and you've come out with a bunch of absolute waffle. You, JP, just be yourself and lap it up. Just lap it up.
Mate, I am being myself, mate. I'm very humble. It was a great performance. Let's not get ourselves ahead of ourselves, and let's, look. I thought the Crusaders were still in the game. Just some interesting decision making, actually. To be honest, for example, right? Like, so it was 31-26. What was it, like 8-9 minutes left? Brumbies get a penalty. New hooker comes on, and the Crusaders stay down. Like, they don't compete in the air. Like, it was like the reserve hookers come on for his first throw. You've got to put pressure on, man. And actually, inadvertently, he threw a crooked throw. So if the Crusaders would have gone up, it would have been a turnover. I just thought little decision making like that. Look, I think they might have underestimated our man Rabs as well. Look, I think James O'Connor really solidified that team last year and came on and was that calm and that experienced player that sort of sealed the game, iced the game, so to speak. And I just think the Crusaders are missing that at the moment. But no, mate, I am being myself. Let's not get past it, mate. It's game 2. It's round 2. Let's not get silly.
That's such a load of bullshit because, like, isn't it? I don't know what's wrong with this guy. Like, obviously it's early in the morning in Australia and he's only had one coffee, but like usually, mate, you love banging the drum. Like before a Bledisloe Cup test has been played, it's coming home. You know, like the Wallabies are looking the best side that they've been in, I don't know, 20 years. And, you know, the Brumbies have gone back to back and you're just sort of playing it down, saying the Crusaders are slow starters. So fair play. I don't know, there's probably some form of weird tactic from Rain Man involved in that somewhere, somehow. But yeah, great start to Super Rugby, hasn't it been? You know, obviously some results that have been really interesting. The Crusaders tipped up 2 weeks on the bounce. You know, the Force, I thought, who are a niggly team, haven't been able to jag a win. Got comprehensively beat by the Brumbies and then the Blues. And the Highlanders, after a good start, well, they got knocked over by the Chiefs. And yeah, it's been great. The 30-year thing is really cool too, isn't it? Great to see them wearing the Retros jerseys. Actually, we got asked to do something with Sky for the launch of it. And the lady said, would you be able to come along in that 96 Crusaders jersey? And she got the same response as she did from all of the Sky people, as in, even though they were big jerseys back in the day, that fucker ain't fitting us anymore. Sorry, it's a no-go. We were 21 way back then, man. 21. That was like 30 years ago, obviously, so it ain't happening.
I tried one of mine on. I couldn't get it past my stomach. Like it looked like a tank top. Like, it was hilarious. And yeah, they were the old school ones. They were the big ones. I was very deflated after that, actually. Very deflated. Yeah, they're quite big jerseys, weren't they, back in the day?
Marshy, what happened with the Crusaders? Because I do believe that's the first time that they've conceded 50 at home. It's the first time the Brumbies have beaten them since 2000, when they actually went on to win their third title in a row, the Crusaders. But what? Because what happened?
I think tactically they just got it wrong. Like in the first half when they were playing into the wind, they used up a lot of energy by trying to maintain the ball in their own half. Obviously, it was very difficult to kick. But equally, the Brumbies were making them use energy because they made them tackle a lot. The tackle statistics were 3 or 4 to 1 in terms of the overall result in the game, which meant the Brumbies' ball retention was really good. So that snowballs on you when you're playing into the wind and you're trying to carry all the time without kicking. That fatigues you. Then you turn it over, or they get a chance, and they're putting, which the Brumbies were doing, 15 or 20 phases on you. That has a snap-on effect as well. So I feel that, you know, they basically got the energy sapped out of them. When the Brumbies scored tries, it was just from individuals with footwork like Muirfield and that, just beating players with that were tired. Defenders were fatigued. And basically, I just think the Brumbies just had more energy in them. They looked a side that were on top of the Crusaders the entire game.
Yeah, look, I think that performance. Look, if you're going to break it down, it was resilient, like James Slipper. Let's not forget James Slipper, 200 games. My God, like White Crockett, like he got 202, I believe, and James Slipper now 200. Two in the front row, one club too. I think it's testament to the clubs, like to the Crusaders and to the Brumbies, that a player will stay that long with one team, right? Like, so it just shows how good that culture is. And I think secondly, when we talk about resilience, And those tackles, Marshy, look, that first 25 minutes with the Brumbies, they were really poor. Like they had every opportunity down in the red zone, would stuff up their set piece, would knock it on, and to the Crusaders' credit, they were very, very strong. Their dominant tackles, like even though they made a lot of dominant tackles. They're very good. And to the Brumbies' credit, they just stuck to the game plan. I think that Lonergan, I tell you, that Lonergan, he's a good 9. Like he's particularly with a young 10 with Meredith, right? Like I've got big raps on this Meredith. I think he's like another kid throwing his hand up for the 10. No one's got a mortgage on the 10 for the Wallabies at the moment. So I really like this Meredith, that young Pritchard at 13. Wow. Found that 21-year-old kid. And obviously Charlie Cahill had a whole year off last year, and like he's shown now 2 weeks in a row the way he started is the way he finished. Like that last try from Corey Toole with Charlie Cahill sort of like in the 79th minute, sort of takes it off the ruck, makes a 10-15 metre break. So I think that resilience and to stick to the game plan, I think that was that, because the Brumbies could have quite easily have fallen off the track, right? Like when you continually try and you don't get any points for every red zone opportunity, especially in Christchurch against the Crusaders, it can definitely knock your confidence. But to their credit, man, they stuck at it, and I think they just continually made and put the Crusaders under pressure. And their decision making, mate. I thought they're just missing that little bit of experience too. Like I just don't think they're making the best decisions. Like you said, they played a lot from their own field. Like why didn't they kick? Like why didn't they look for territory rather than trying to run it as much as they did? I thought they didn't make that great a decision making at times.
It felt like watching that Brumbies side, the speed and the way they were able to recycle the ball. It felt like early 2000s stuff. Is that fair?
Yeah, look, they played well, didn't they? Look, they not only from a recycling point of view, but from a set piece. Like, look, their line out did struggle at times, but I thought their set piece were solid. Like, they were able to build phases like regularly. Like, so it's really about building those phases, right? But then it's about keep going and stick to the game plan. Like a lot of teams, when they don't succeed, will veer away from their game plan, and that's the resilience and what you've got to give to the Brumbies, a big pat on the back, and that was to stay at it. They kept coming around the corner. And because the Crusaders were tackling well, man. Like they were bashing guys. Have a look at that game. They were getting some real dominant tackles. So, yeah, it was just a really, really industrial. I love that word, Marshy. You use it a lot. It was a real industrious type of performance by the Brumbies, particularly to get 50.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of it had a lot of Stephen Larkerman and the way that the Brumbies used to play. Like I saw a lot of inside balls, looking for forward runners, looking for wingers to come in and inject themselves into the game. They weren't doing too much stuff deep back, like in terms of block plays. They were doing them at the line with front balls, and then like the Brumbies of old when Finnegan and co were carrying, Valentini was doing that. As you mentioned, Kale was carrying hard. The game plan was very like you used to see from Brumbies DNA, and I just think they were really smart. Like you said, Lonergan's, he's just been, for the last 2 weeks, he's been outstanding. They've got some real X factor with the likes of Corey Toole on the wing. You mentioned the midfield, like across the board, they're just a real balanced side. So, yeah, they're looking good at this stage. Like you say, it's early days, but it's never easy to beat the Crusaders in Christchurch. And it looked like they had their sails up and they had the wind at their back, and they were going to look like they were probably going to run over the Brumbies, but they didn't. They stick to their game plan, stick to their discipline, like you said. And, they were comprehensive winners in the finish.
Well, obviously, lads, been off air for quite a while. We've been off air since the end of the season last year. Feels like ages. But in between that time, there's been a massive news cycle, and the biggest story we keep getting asked about, and I'm sure, Marshy, you get it a lot as well, but I'm getting it so much, is like, when's the pod coming back on air, and what went on with Razor? First question, Marshy. How is he? You've been spending time with him. How is Razor?
Well, I think you're bang on first in that summary. The biggest question I get asked is, when's the pod back on air? So the next second biggest question is about Razor for sure. I've caught up with Razor since what happened, all on that really bizarre day. I just like it unfolding the way that it did. My phone started pinging in the morning from various media outlets. And I was like, this is a bit strange. And then there was I kind of asked one of them where the information was coming from, and there was something coming out of Ireland. I think it was from the Irish Independent. Had heard that there was going to be an announcement about Razor today. So obviously that all unfolded on that day, and then we know what happened. So seeing him probably about 10 days after that was difficult. As we know, he wears his heart on his sleeve, Razor, and he cares about every team he coaches, and in particular his biggest passion was to coach the All Blacks. That's never going to be easy, and you're an All Black coach. It doesn't only play out in the media, it plays out in the public, and it plays out all over the world because it's massive news. So that's never easy. He's got a family, his wife and kids, Jane and the kids and all of that. So yeah, you'd be lying if it didn't affect any person, if you get news like that. And I know he had huge aspirations and ambition to take this team to deliver a Rugby World Cup to this country. And when you're then told you can't do that, imagine how that feels.
Yeah, it was crazy news over here. I was actually talking to someone via Instagram. Someone's getting back to some rugby, asking about the pod. I was talking to someone on Instagram, and they were like, "Have you heard about Razor? He's going to get the sack." And I was like, "No, there is absolutely no way. There's no way that's happening like this one." And I was like, "There's not a chance." And then literally hours later, it came across, and I was like, "Wow." Like when you think about timing, like particularly with the tour this year, huge tour. Like I think this will go down as one of the great tours of all time, particularly with reciprocal rights, right?
Yeah,
Every
we'll
couple
talk
of years,
about
whatever
this
they do
shortly.
it. Yeah. I think it's going to be magic. Then you got the Rugby World Cup in 2027. So you got some pretty instrumental events happening. And is there enough time? Yeah, absolutely. There's always enough time, but I was floored. Straight away, I went into Mythbusters, right? Like where what's plausible, what's busted, and what's the real myth. And look at my own experience. And first and foremost, Razor. Like I've known the guy too for over 2 decades. What an incredible human being! Like just an absolute gentleman, an absolute cracker of a guy. And by all accounts, his success at the Crusaders doesn't reflect this at all, right? This decision. So it's actually, it's quite confusing for a lot of people. And, look, for me, having been a part of a situation with a coach, I think it always comes back to players. The CEO and the board would have asked because assistant coaches aren't getting the coach sacked, right? Like that's not happening, mate. It's coming from players. And again, this is not having a crack at the players. Because, again, if they don't feel that they can win a World Cup underneath Razor, it's their prerogative, right? Because I was very similar with a coach, with John Connolly in 2007. I had a crack at him because I didn't feel the way the culture was within the side as the coach to the players. We felt the team was being leaked to the press, all this sort of stuff. I had a crack at him in front of everyone, and that didn't go down well. Because I never got picked.
What'd you say?
What did you say, JP?
Okay, so in 2007, we had this Rugby World Cup camp. And there's 50 odd players, there's 20 odd coaches. We're sitting in this auditorium. We had Andrew Slack actually as a guest speaker, and he's actually standing up in front of everyone, all in front of the players, going, "Oh, look, I don't know what to say here," but anyway, talking about truth. And I'm sitting there in my seat going, "Don't do it, don't say it, JP, don't say it." And then my big mouth, I've got to say it. So I get up. Okay, Slacky, this is probably not for you. It's probably for Knuckles, the coach. But mate, why is it when we wake up on Thursday morning, the team is in the press? Why don't we're going to training and you got players that are finding out if they're selected in the team or not? Why are you leaking the team to the press? Ugh. I tell you what, that went down like a lead balloon. Like I was like, mate, literally, like players, like when we walked outside, like I had like two players, I think Phil Waugh and Chris Latham, and a coach, John Muggleton, turned to me and go, man, why didn't you just call him a fucking idiot to his face? Like literally. And I was like, man, I was just being honest, because it would disrupt the team, mate. Like we'd be on the back of the bus going to training, and guys go, oh, I'm not selected. Bugger. And it would change their whole mental focus towards training. So, we always felt like, players always felt that he had this relationship with the media to save himself. And what happened in that 2007 Rugby World Cup? They got knocked out in the quarterfinals. So we had the Gregan, Larkham, like there were selection issues. But look, for me personally, I just felt that we were never going to win that race. And I had a crack at him. So I never got picked. I won a World Cup, lost the World Cup, and didn't get picked for a World Cup. So there was my three. So, but mate, that's what happens, right? When you have a crack at the coach. But I just feel that there must have been a fair few senior players or players that must have not liked the direction of the way Razor was going. And it just, because it just, none of it makes sense.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think that that's something that people aren't aware of. It's been, well, obviously Adi Savia was one of the first ones, and he hasn't made any comments since. So, how much truth is in that, we just don't know. And then equally, there's been subsequently since then, others have come out and said that there was some unhappiness in the camp. So I think it's quite clear that the players had some issues, but I do feel that those are things that usually you can resolve internally. Something has manifested that bad, and that it was decided that things were, that unachievable to talk about and talk through and work through the problems is quite baffling to me, to be perfectly honest. I've been part of senior players, as you have, JP, backseat, and when you're not happy, if you feel you're being overtrained, or if you feel that there's too much tactical, there's too much time in the doing analysis, and the players are tired and getting drained or whatever, and don't agree with the game plan, you just go sort that shit out with the coach. The back seat goes there, the senior players, and you chat it through, and that includes environment and cultural, issues within the squad. They all just get resolved internally. So it's bizarre, and there's an element also that I've even said it publicly on Sky that where does the buck stop? Why has all of this been blamed on Scott Robertson? There are other coaches, and equally there are players that have let down the side at times, individuals who have made errors in games that have cost them test matches. So, when is he able to say, well, you know what, I sent them out there with a really good game plan, but I can't coach them to not catch the ball in the air. When they're doing it at training, but then they're not executing that in a test match, they're letting the team down with their own individual skills. So there's that element as well, that the players have to take responsibility for those performance issues that the All Blacks have sacked Scott Robertson for. They obviously deemed him not to be successful enough. And then obviously a bit of a toxic environment, which, I just can't see that. I find that a stretch. And I think I have to say, just quickly, because I know you want to have a comment on this, JP, is, do I think it was the right decision? No, I do not. Do I think All Black Rugby will get back to where it needs to go because we've made this decision? Of course we will, because we always will. But did we need to change coach to do that? I'm not convinced we did. I do feel that what Scott Robertson was building and he was learning, he could have taken this team through to win a Rugby World Cup, if not one, maybe two. But they haven't given him the chance, and I feel real disappointed for him. And I feel real disappointed that we probably didn't see him coach the All Blacks in the next couple of years to the level that he could. And now we have to adjust and pivot and find a way to rectify the problems that are quite obviously there with the players, the same players. There's not really a lot else out there that we're going to be able to choose from.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Marshy. Like, you look at Ian Foster. Like, all reports suggest that he was saved by the players, right? Like, so there was huge amounts of pressure on him, externally from the New Zealand public, as well as obviously within the inner sanctum of the board. But the players came back and said, no, mate, he's the coach. So then we have this situation, right, like where we believe it's the players saying this isn't the right coach. But then you take one step further. Like, if you're going to sack someone, let's make sure you've got some really good candidates ready, like, or you actually have the coach ready. Like who the fuck are they taking? They've gone and sacked someone, and like there's not. I'm sorry, but there's not a lot of people putting their hands up at the moment that are winning anyway. That are winning, as well as you're looking at people that have already done it before.
Yeah, if you're going to pull the trigger, you've got to have a succession plan in mind. And quite obviously, they would have had some semblance of the direction they wanted to go in, the New Zealand Rugby Union, that is. And obviously, they have to do their due diligence and go down the right pathway, which is allow people to apply. I think that's just part of any organisation, that you have to follow that particular structure to make sure that everybody gets a fair and equal chance to be a candidate. So that they have to do that. That's regardless. They can't just go, right, that coach is gone, this coach is coming in. It doesn't happen like that. So I think they probably would have had some form of idea of what direction they wanted to go in, because they made such a rash decision to sack Razor. So the fact that it's still dragging out is a bit of a concern. I'm hoping that the reason that it's dragging out is because, look, at the end of the day, with Foster, he lost 2 assistant coaches. He lost Brad Moore and John Plumtree, and he had to replace them out of his original coaching group. Scott Robertson lost Leon McDonald in the first year. Jason Holland didn't renew, so he was losing assistant coaches. So what they need to do is make sure that due diligence that they are doing is when they pick this coaching team, it's a team that sticks, because that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened in the last 6 years. And you don't want that unsettling nature for players and for a coaching group where you've got people involved in there being unhappy and moving on, or not doing their job, effectively. So maybe that's what they're doing, that whoever the candidate is, whether it's Jamie Joseph, I believe, or Dave Rennie are the 2 leading candidates, that the people underneath them have to stick and have to be happy. Because we can't keep having assistant coaches leaving the coaching group. It's no good. And you know what the other side of it is? Like, if you're that candidate, and let's say it's Jamie Joseph and Dave Rennie, and we'll even throw Joe Smith in there, because they all might have looked at it, I don't know. But it is a daunting prospect, an exciting one, very exciting. But coming in as the All Black coach now, in the 2 years that the All Blacks have, like if you think about this calendar year, with World Rugby Championship that's coming in July, starting in July, and then finishing in November, with a final over there, and then the Greatest Rivalry Tour, then a World Cup the following year. Like, you've got to come in hot, man. You can't afford to say, oh, we're just going to feel our way through this year, and maybe things will come right. It's like, mate, you can't do that, man. You got to hit the ground running and be ready to rock and roll. No lead in time. Jeez.
You got no warm-ups. 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 And this new World Rugby competition too starting as well, right? So,
well, they're going to they take on the top 7 teams in the world this year, the All Blacks. Yep. All of them, and then possibly, if they're good enough, play a final at Twickenham on 28th of November. So, as All Black coach, you know that you've got to beat the best in the world this year. You're not getting, with the greatest respect, Georgia coming over and have a couple of touchy-feely tests against them in June. Like, you're straight into France and Ireland and Italy, who are a handful. They're going great guns in the Six Nations. So, you got those 3 first, and then you're off to South Africa for our proper tour, where you're going to get battered by the provincial sides like the Stormers and the Sharks, and then 4 test matches on the bounce, and one of them in America. Good fun.
Good luck.
What a way, though, that tour is such a good way to set the team up, set the All Blacks up long term, isn't it? Because you're going to have to blood so many players in the midweek games, and there's going to be injuries to the test team over in South Africa, and guys are going to get games on big stages leading into that, as you said, the World Nations Championship, then you've got the World Cup, then you've got the Lions. Like to build depth early, I mean, you're jumping in the deep end, but South Africa is probably the place to be doing that, right?
Oh, big time. Like, I've said this before, and I say it because for me it's factual, which is, as an All Black, it's probably the most difficult challenge that you put the boots on for, and equally whether you're the coach as well. Like
bigger than the
go
Lions.
to South Africa.
Bigger than the Lions series, you reckon?
Yeah, I think so, because the advantage of the Lions is they're at home. You're in your own environment. You've got control of. You've got basically the majority of the crowd. Yeah, they bring a lot with them, but to go to South Africa in their conditions, with their passion for the game, and to go back to back and 4 Test matches on the bounce with those provincial games, like what South African rugby player who doesn't get to pull the Springbok jersey on doesn't want to have a crack at the All Blacks? So, like, everybody's playing their Test match, in those provincial games. So you get bashed around in those as well. But that's why you play the game. That's why you coach the game, to have those opportunities to go and test yourself against the toughest environment, the most competitive situation you're ever going to get yourself put through, and go, righto, this is why I play. This is why I coach. Taking on a challenge that daunting is what gets you out of bed big time to be a professional rugby player or a professional coach, man. That's the ultimate. Fuck yeah, actually, thinking about it, I might go down and dust the boots off and might hit the gym and go do a few...
do some press-ups.
Do some press-ups and a few...
Go do some burpees.
Exactly.
Burpees,
a few Henny Mullers.
Look, mate, I love this tour. Look, touring, I believe, and that's why South Africa was so good in Super Rugby. Very quickly, young Adam Ashley Cooper, right? He hadn't played a Super Rugby game yet. It was a Tuesday night. It was his 21st. Obviously, we went out, took the young kid out.
Did you?
Well, it's his 21st, right? Like, you got to go for a 21st. I think I was 31. So anyway, took him out. It was about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I think he's going, Uncle Ming, can I go home? Shut up. Give him another drink like this one. Anyway, would have been... I think we're training at 9 a.m. Anyway, it was about 10 to 9, sitting next to him. I go, rightio, kid, this is what it's all about, mate. Like, let's turn up. You got to train. Anyway, walking off after training, walking with a couple of old Wallabies, Dave Giffen, Billy Young. I turned around to both of them and go, this kid's going to play 100 tests. Like, he's just... He was phenomenal. No, he was phenomenal. Like, he was the best trainer. Just had that edge about him. Had never played a Super Rugby game. Goes on and plays 130, goes and plays 120 tests. You just, on a tour, you find out about kids. Like, you find out about guys and whether or not they assimilate within a side, because it's always about the culture and it's always about the camaraderie within a team. And I think if you're going to build really, like, why I love this test series, I've been there too in this tour, it's at the perfect time of the season. Like, when you look at the Lions, they come down at the end of a very long, arduous season, right? Some of them were playing over 40 games. Here we have the All Blacks and the Box playing at their prime time. Like, they haven't played too many games in the season. Hopefully, players will be fully fit. We'll have the best 23 players from each side playing in those 4 test matches. It's just everything is accumulating to and just coming to the best tour. So, yeah, I think there's nothing but wins here for the All Blacks and for All Blacks players, particularly building into a Rugby World Cup next year.
Yeah, and let's throw in there as well, like, it's going to be the best tour that you want to be on. So for supporters, if you want to go and be involved in, like I say, the provincial games and the test, but equally... so do G Brands. We want to be there. We want to be on the ground. We want to do a few live pods while we're out there. So for all of our South African listeners out there, if you happen to know somebody that would be keen on sponsoring us over there for the tour, let's hear from you. Andy, what are the details again?
studio@midnightstudios.com, and the link will be... Actually, I'm going to make sure I put it on the screen as well. Here it is, somewhere along here. And it's going to be in the description box below. Just get us over there. God, I'd love to be over there. How good would that be?
It's going to be a magic tour.
And if
I love
anyone's
how
having
they
their
brought
21st over there while we're over there as well,
Yeah.
I'd love to come along to that as well.
Uncle Ming, I want to go home. Uncle Ming, shut up. Have another drink.
Where'd the Uncle Ming come from?
All the young kids, like Gitz, Drew Mitchell, Animation Cooper, they always
Uncle
call me
Ming.
Uncle Ming. So it was always like,
Uncle.
it's normally like 5:30.
When the wheels had fallen off. A little bit like England's campaign in the Six Nations.
Ooh, here he goes.
That's a good segue.
Fresh off
Wow.
the back of November where you absolutely slagged off Tom Curry. And you got some real good feedback from that, didn't you?
I think I should
Don't stick
apologise.
by your guns,
I
mate.
shouldn't have
Don't
called it
back
a
down.
dog shot. I've been
be
copping a
a
lot of
pussy.
grief, and it's been warranted. I went too far. I got excited and called Tom Curry's
you
shot
really did.
against Argentina a dog shot, and it wasn't. I'm sorry.
Dog shot, that's what you said. You
Sorry,
can't take
Tom.
that back, mate. Come on. Yeah, well, hey, but what a nice little jab in the ribs there, Andy, as an intro. Six Nations, how good has it been? But yeah, not good for England. Obviously being tipped up by Scotland. That was some sort of game, though, to be fair. Wow, it was really entertaining. And that Murrayfield, when it gets clicking like that, there's no better stadium really in the world for atmosphere and environment. And the Scots got their backs up, and unfortunately for the English, they were the victims of the day, you know. So then at the weekend as well, a lot of speculation about exactly where this Irish team was, and I've probably been one saying, have they evolved? Have they, since Sexton, been able to, be the team that they were with him as the architect? In that 10 jersey, he was controlling the pattern and the flow. They went okay against France, all right against Italy, but bang, get to Twickenham, and man, what a performance. So, and a lot of chat around, some of the players maybe getting a little too old, the likes of James Lowe and Jameson Gibson Park. Who's the better 10 between Crawley and Prendergast? All of those conversations that they're having post Johnny Sexton. Man, I think they answered quite a few of them at the weekend against England. Bang, they come to Twickenham, and it's never an easy place to win, as many teams know, and they put them to the sword.
I will say though, England, mate, what happened to their defence? Like 2 years ago, right, when Joseph Akuso Suwa'ali'i burst onto the scene, plays his first Test match in Twickenham. We win that incredible game. Leniki Tau bang to Max Jorgensen, incredible try, right? Like we see England over that autumn series. We see them. I think they lose 3 or 4. They go away a year later, they come back, and they are incredible in the Six Nations because they're tackling everything. Like defensively, they're off the line, their line speed, their connection, everything about it. Where has that gone? Where they were missing tackles. What about this, right? They score the last try. I think it's 22-7 at halftime. They score the last try going into halftime, and I think, okay, they're going to bounce back here. Straight after, in the 41st minute, Ireland, they let through. England let through 3 missed 3 tackles. Ireland score. Like I could not believe the side I was watching. Like this is not the same team. So, look, they're in a bit of trouble. To be
Alice
honest.
Genge
Like they really are.
reckons they believe their own hype, and
Well,
that's him saying
look,
it.
whether or not it's hype, whether or not it's arrogance, whether or not like they got ahead of themselves, they just lost that tackling ability. Like they've been building this for a couple of years, where defensively they've been very, very good, particularly that.
You always say it, don't you? It's attitude though, and if you're believing your own hype,
It's
then maybe
100%
the attitude isn't quite there.
Yeah. Look, yes, and yes, 100%. Look, I just feel though that whether or not now there's going to be another coach like that might be falling on the sword, because I don't think you can go backwards this much. Like personally, I don't think you can, because, mate, they are looking like a side that has no answers, none at all.
I agree with that, and I do agree what you're saying about defence, because it is unusually soft, and this England team is usually very resilient, particularly at Twickenham. And they've got some good players, robust players that get in over the ball and challenge, and they compete at the ruck, and they weren't really doing that as well, which was quite surprising. And they were really on their heels a lot in that game, and they're not usually like that. particularly at Twickenham. Obviously, when they're at Murrayfield, it was a little bit different, and I thought they were kind of a little off on that day. But yeah, they certainly were not themselves at the weekend against Ireland. But that could have been because of the pressure Ireland put on them to a degree. But yeah, there's a little bit of, are they believing their own hype? Wouldn't be like England to do that, would it, lads? But anyway, no. I don't. In saying that, I think Steve Borthwick is still the right man for the job. I think where he's been trending has been really, really good. And they're in a little bit of a rut at the moment, which they'll be more pissed off than anybody else in the world about internally to get right. But I do still feel, when I look at the balance of that squad, they do have the players. They're just a little bit lackluster in their game plan and their execution and that at the moment. And I think when they knuckle down and get their attitude right, they'll still be a very, very good side.
It's such a hard competition to pick at the moment, because you've got Scotland, who lose to Italy, beat England, then lose to Wales, who Wales could have beaten Scotland, and then you've got you've got Italy, who's playing out of their skin. So then you've got England, who you'd think should be going for the Grand Slam, who are nowhere near it now, and then Ireland have just come back out of nowhere and put that sort of performance on. But France, you can predict at the moment, they look phenomenal.
They do. Hey, and lads,
watch yourself here, Marshy. Watch yourself.
Okay.
You and the French.
The French Warriors. Here we go. I won't backtrack like Andy Rowe. Don't worry about that. I'll stick by my guns. But last year I copped a little bit of flack, particularly from my butts in South Africa, about not having Cheslin Colby in my side, and I picked Belberry. How good has that bloke been? Oh. Holy moly.
He does what he wants.
He is scoring tries for fun. He is easily the best player in the Six Nations right now. In my mind. Like, he is absolutely sensational. Like the speed that he showed at the weekend, the kick ahead, and you saw him chase it, you're like, he's going to score that. All that has to happen is the ball doesn't go dead, which it didn't. He is an absolute weapon. But yeah, just back to the French and I guess a reinvigorated, rejuvenated French side. Fabien Galtier's left a few key players out and made some selections that people raise their eyebrows about, but it's proved to be something that's worked, and they're looking pretty good. The big one will be that English one for the French. That's the stopper for them, and probably their Grand Slam. With obviously the English are not going to win it now, having dropped 2 games, but they're still, like I said, a dangerous side that could actually be a bit of a banana skin for the French. So that's going to be a belter of a game.
Yeah, look, I'd just like to throw 2 things out there. Number one, are the English players having a hangover effect from the British and Irish Lions? Too many games? I don't know. Are they tired? Are we seeing players carrying niggling injuries?
The Irish are part of that British and Irish Lions as well.
No, they started slow too, mate. They started slow too against the French. So there was a lot of question marks over them as well. So no, just a theory thrown out there. Are players playing too much footy? And then you look at the French. I love the way that he's doing these selections too, because it's a little bit like Rassie, right? Like Rassie's building a squad, and I think that's where as a side, if you want to dominate world rugby, you need a squad. You can't have a 15 anymore. And not even a 23. You really need a 30. Really, that's pushing players in the top 15 as well as pushing to get into that 23, that bomb squad type of thing. So I feel the good sides are able to put more players in and test them at these games, and the French are very similar, right? They look very, very good. They look very good. Like, they're obviously going to win the Six Nations, but I think the English have got to go back to the drawing board, man. I don't know, man. I don't know if Steve Borthwick is the right guy. I really don't know. I think he's had his opportunity for a while now. If they don't pick themselves, if they don't win against the French, I think there will be a lot of question marks over Steve Borthwick, which is a shame because I think he's a good guy, but I don't know if he's the right coach.
Wow, that's a big statement from Ming the Merciless. To be
Well, they've
perfectly
gone
honest.
backwards. They've gone backwards, mate. Like, you can't, like, I understand with transition and understand with, like, yep, they lost a fair few games a couple of years ago, started to build. Now, mate, they don't have any answers.
Again, though, like we've just spoken about what happened to Razor, do you think, like, sacking Steve Borthwick would fix the problem? Like, is there a hangover a little bit? The players are believing their own hype, like Genj said, and there's a little bit of complacency and overconfidence in that squad. Is that Borthwick's fault?
Well, of course it is, mate. The buck always stops with the coach, right? Like, a lot of it.
Borthwick did talk about that last game against France being an opportunity to win the Grand Slam, and he talked about that at the start of the season. And I thought when he came out and said that, I was like, oh, that's a...
There's a few games before that.
You've got to get past a few
I
decent
love
teams
the
before then,
confidence.
mate.
He should have been talking like that.
But what I'm saying is that links into the chat of believing your own hype.
No, but again, you're focusing in on this. I don't look again. If you can't go from the way that they've improved dramatically last year and then having all these top players to them not performing, like, I'm sorry, that a lot of that's attitude, like from a doing their work point of view, not believing their own hype, but just doing the day-to-day things they need to do as a footy player. And I just feel selections as well. Selections, look, it's always tough when you've got a very competitive back row as well, right? Like 9, 10 as well. That's always going to be your big decisions, particularly, with England and the players that they have in those positions as well. So, look, I think selection. So, again, I think it all comes down to the coach. And if they don't perform, which... I'm sorry, I think the French are going to absolutely smack the English. I really do. Like, they're playing that well. They really are. So I think after this championship, you'll probably see another coach gone and feel it. Like, I think the momentum's building on them, unfortunately, and the results are pretty much indicating that way. Like, mate, you get beat by Scotland, you get absolutely smacked by Ireland. What do you think is going to happen with the French, like, over there? Like, wow. Like, yeah, we'll see.
JP has waited to the end of the show to come alive and give us an absolute teaser for the episode.
Oh, has he what? Yeah, no, you know what has been incredible about this pod has been the fact that it took him around about 40 minutes to mention Joseph Akuso Su'ali'i, and we've got through an entire pod without him talking about Fraser McWright, which is like unprecedented. So next time, JP, you started off pretty humble, and you've ended humble by not mentioning Fraser McWright. You probably need to have an extra coffee or a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning in Australia just to get yourself on the edge.
Mate, humble as fuck, mate. Look, mate, hey, look. We started well last year too, the boys. Like, Australia team started really well, but we slipped off, didn't we? We fell off the cliff. So never really just gonna put my guns back in my holsters and just wait a few weeks. But let's not forget too, boys, one Angus Crichton signing for the Wallabies for 20.
Yeah.
He's going to be coming on the 2026 tour this year. And I was sort of thinking to myself, maybe we should rest players this year, right, leading into the 27 Rugby World Cup. Because the guys these young guys have played some continuous footy over the last couple of years. But then I'm thinking,
Jorgensen
gotta get
doesn't look
Angus
like
Crichton.
he needs a rest, mate. Max Jorgensen does
mate,
not
all
look
these-
like he needs a rest.
The tough thing about young players, like, and you constantly working them, like, they do need to recover. They just can't keep up with that consistency of playing at that level. And we saw them drop off dramatically, right, last year. So I was thinking maybe a little bit of a rest with niggling injuries, like guys like Fraser McWright hasn't had a rest, Harry Wilson. There's just little niggles, but. God, with Angus Crichton, Marky Mark coming back, Nazar Tawasi, like, boys, we're going to win the fucking Rugby World Cup.
Of course you are. Of course you are. It's coming home.
It's exciting news, mate. Angus Crichton. Like, I'm thinking inside centre, outside centre. Like,
Me too.
Maybe even a hybrid player.
Working towards with Leicester Fainganuku, the ability to play on the side of the screen. You saw how devastating he was yesterday, just coming in close and carrying, and that's where he scored his try. He's basically playing like a forward, but yet he's playing at centre. So, Yeah, I agree with you. Crichton could be a hybrid, but off the back of what you said, Andy, about Jorgensen, that's the one thing that I've really enjoyed in the opening couple of rounds of Super Rugby, mate. These wingers actually playing like a traditional winger, like the likes of like Caleb Tungitau backing himself to take guys on the outside. The try that he scored against the Crusaders, where most wingers nowadays will just seek the contact and T-bone that defender, and he just went, you know what, I'm just fast, so I'm going to skin you. He spotted a couple of forwards at the weekend, and he was like, there's two of them there, and there's a little gap there that would usually close, but I'm fast, so I'm going through it. And then the tries that Jorgensen scored in the last 2 weeks, similar thing, just putting footwork on guys early, bang, 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 and then backing his pace to go tiptoe along the touchline, whatever it might be. You know, that's traditional winger play like we used to see.
And Tungitau,
far out, it's been good to watch.
The Chiefs.
Oh, Tungitau, my goodness.
Just put his foot down and boom. And Jorgensen with that, you know, that left, right
triple
footwork.
step. Was it triple
and then,
step? Was it like
yeah, and then he's not losing massive momentum in his speed, and then the defender's kind of a bit sort of unsure of what direction he's going to go, and then he just absolutely blitzes them with outright speed. Man, that's probably been my highlight in the last couple of weeks, seeing the wingers fly like that, eh? It's great.
It's been good to chat with you, lads, and hopefully we'll come back on the air soon. We're going to take another little break until we get a sponsor, and if you are a company that wants to partner with G Brands so we can keep producing this content, email us, studio@red9studios.com. I will, as I said, put the link in the description to this episode as well, and check out red9studios.com for more information. Christchurch's own world-class podcast studio, lads. We'll see you here soon.
Oh, there it is. Started with a plug, finished with a plug. Beautiful.